Lover, are you a fan of creating stories that have crazy fight scenes, full of action, full of superpowers, full of just whatever you can think of that makes a series over the top and exciting in a physical way? Then we're going to be discussing how to make a action webtoon that readers are just going to be obsessed with. Like, readers are going to want every second of the comic to be full of action, and they're going to be eating it up. They're going to be loving it. They're going to want more of it. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. Quick disclaimer, you can pause it if you want to read it, but just remember to take everything I say with a grain of salt. All right, so I have 6 points that I want to cover, and starting with point number 1, start with a high impact concept. So you might be thinking, what does that even mean? Well, in my opinion, every action webtoon from the very beginning, from the immediate start of it, needs a really strong hook. And this is in episode 1. Like, this is not wait until episode 3. No, like, I need to understand from the very beginning, like, what's going on. So something that makes people stay past that first episode. So you have to introduce a concept that's interesting enough for me to be able to want to read past episode 1. And I personally feel that action readers are probably some of the most pickiest readers that there are, period. Like, and that's for any like movies, TV, anime, manga, whatever. I feel like if there is not enough action from the beginning, they're immediately going to be like, nope, no interest, boring. And like, I'm sure I can hear people typing in the chat already being like, dude, what about this series? Like, it's critically acclaimed. What about this singer? I'm talking about as a whole. I'm not talking about those few random standouts that are just like, break all of the rules and are extremely successful. I'm just talking about the fact that you need something that is going to be super impactful from the very beginning. So you have to think about the conflict at its core. What does that mean? Like, what is the type of story that you're trying to make? Is it a revenge story? Is it a survival story? Is it about a rebellion? All of that can be conveyed to me in the first episode without a lot of heavy exposition to establish, like, what are the actual stakes in the story. Now, for a long... I'm sorry, was it buffering or did the stream end? Like, I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? Why am I going through all of these technical difficulties like every freaking episode? Okay, it's back up and running. Oh, okay. I saw it buffering. Like, I have it pulled up as well so I can make sure that, if the stream does end, I know where to start from. Okay, getting back to what I was saying. I'm going to have to cut all of that. So let me just start over with stakes. Like, when it comes to stakes, it's super important for me as a reader to understand what level of impact this is having on the character. So if I'm following your main character and the core conflict is introduced, I need to know, is this on a world level? Is this on a personal level? Is this just affecting them internally? Because all of that matters. All of that gives me context as to what type of journey it's going to be. And you don't need to elaborate on it further. I just need to understand from my point of view what's happening. And you can get into the nuance as it goes on. So kind of think about, like, is this just in their city? Like, think of it as like a terrible event. Is it affecting the whole world? Is it affecting a country? Is it affecting a city? Is it affecting a group of people? Is it affecting an individual? And then you can kind of sort of roundabout way emphasize what's important to the reader and why it's important. So then you have to establish what's unique about the fights or the powers. Now, this is something that I think is really interesting because it doesn't always have to be like superpowers. It could be a bunch of other things. Like, I think about TV shows like 007, like a lot of the interest there was like from the technology, was from like the cool gadgets, was from the things that the agent was using. I think about like John Wick, a lot of it was from like those dynamic panels, the way the fight scenes were choreographed. I think about Daredevil, it's the same thing, like unique fight scenes. Like they always had to do like a fight scene in a hallway so that there could be all of this running up walls and flipping and all of that stuff. And so I think that's really important to have some sort of unique style about the way your fight scenes are going, other than just two characters punching each other. To take this even further, to give you more context, like with Naruto, the hand signs really aren't needed, but it's a cool concept to add to the fight scene that is unique and different from other series that have fight scenes in them. Like, of course, ninjutsu is not something new. I'm just saying it's an aspect of their story that was able to impact the community fan base that they created. Like I used to remember, like when I was younger, I would see kids like learning all of the hand signs so that they could do jutsu, which, Lord, did they even do jutsu towards the end of that series? Like it's one of the things that I feel is just so fun that you can play with as a creator in that space that really adds flair to your series. And then of course, like with your traditional like X-Men, mutant, superhero sort of things, like having unique powers. I've said this before, like if a series has a unique power in terms of like maybe it's super speed or let's go with electricity because I'm looking at Alexi. Maybe it's electricity. And so there's a number of things that are affected by this. Like it could go as deep as the electrical fields within someone's body, or it could be just as simple as creating like static electricity within someone's body to be like a human taser. Like there's all sort of interesting ways to put like a fun twist on the power that makes it unique and fun to the series and makes people like super hype about the series. So I just wanted to give you guys a brief example of what I meant by like encompassing all of this stuff. I feel like you can do all of this within like your sentence summary. So a teenager can absorb fighting skills by touching weapons, but every time he does, he loses part of his memory. I think this is so interesting because here's the thing, like it kind of adds a bunch of layers without having to explain anything. Like the reader can infer like the more weapons he acquires, the more he loses who he is as a person, the more he loses like his loved ones, the more he loses, you know, aspects of, you know, the relationships that he's created throughout the story. And then you put him in moments where it's like, okay, you need a new power. Do you pick up that weapon or do you just use the skills that you have? But if you pick up that weapon, you could lose a memory of something that you trust. So it's like almost like you're crafting a new character at the same time. And that's what I'm talking about. There's so many little things that you can do within a story that creates so much like interesting premise and duality and nuance to a story without doing too much in the action genre. Like literally just this one concept could be like him going fight after fight after fight, and each fight he's losing something. Each fight he has something at stake, and so the reader is on the edge of their seat because they're like, dude, don't do it, or they're like, do it. So it just creates such a fun atmosphere within that fan base, within that community, just from these little bits of information. So let's move on to our next point. Point number 2, structure the story for action. This is something I feel like people get a little confused with, especially on Webtoons. And I don't know if it's because like the creator intended for it to not be action first, but they have it categorized as action first, or they didn't realize that the genre that they created was not action and it was something else, like a romance action or like a slice of life action. Like action has a very particular vibe. So I think using story arcs to build that tension and the stakes over time is super, super important. So the way you would do this is by one, introducing the arc. Like, what is it? Is it a tournament arc? Is it, you know, a race against time arc? Is it a, you know, quest arc? Like all of that you just established from the very, very beginning. Super simple. And if you look at any shonen, any manhwa, like there'll be a very obvious objective for the character in the beginning. Either they will tell you, another character will tell you, or the story itself will tell you. One of those things. So then you in this intro arc, you establish the world, you establish the characters, and the major threat. And this is something you can repeat over and over again for each arc. It's like, what's happening? And when I say establish the world, I'm really talking about establishing the stakes of what's happening. Because if you're already in the series and you've already established like the world building setting, like your fantasy environment, I'm talking about establishing the stakes specifically. So then you go into your arc specifically, talking about like a training arc or a power growth. Let the MC have some struggle, let them learn, and let them evolve. So this is one of those instances, unless you're doing something where you're writing an overpowered character like Saitama or Mob Psycho or something like that. Like, even with those characters, well, I don't know about Saitama. Saitama is just like an anomaly. But even with like Mob Psycho and whatnot, like the characters are evolving and growing. They're learning things about themselves. They're figuring things out. Like, their struggles have nothing to do with their physical prowess. Like, generally, it's going to be something emotional or something outside of their control. So try and figure out a way to tell the story where the characters are growing and learning. In Saitama's case, the more I think about it, I think like every character around him is learning and growing, and he's just living his best, worst life. So then as you're progressing throughout the arc, so you've got your, stakes established, you've got your character struggling to evolve and learn his new superpower skill. Then you have your arc twist where maybe one of the characters betrays another character, maybe a new villain is introduced, or maybe there's some sort of big, huge event, like at the school tournament. All of a sudden, they don't finish the tournament because the big bads attack, because a bomb goes off, because, I don't know, the MC sister dies. Like, there's all sorts of things that could happen that makes the story hit this moment and have that bit of a twist where now you can like really play up the tension, really add in some dramatic effect, maybe some more plot, maybe some exposition, maybe some additional dialogue that will help to establish the character. Then we hit our climax arc. So I kind of meant in this aspect that it's more of like the climax of the arc. Like, that's what I should have put there. But this is where we have our confrontation for the arc. Like, this is where the arc is going to conclude. Like, they figured it out. They've got all the plot pieces together. And now they're going to have their big, huge battle that's going to have all the emotional payoffs. It's going to have all of everything that the character learned. It's going to have all of the stakes on the line. It's going to have like all of the mystery. Well, maybe not all of it, but the mystery that's directly related to whatever is happening being revealed, and everyone's getting those emotional payoffs. So here's some things to really help keep the story moving every episode. So just think about this, especially if you're writing in this genre. Like, reveal something new every episode at least. Like, it doesn't have to be anything major, but it could be a bit of information. It could be one sentence. It could be a couple of panels. It could be a bunch of stuff. Hello, everyone. I see new people are jumping on. So then you want to make sure that within these episodes, you're setting up for the fight. So if a fight is not happening, you're setting up for it. This could be, a fight way down the line. This could be an immediate fight, but you're creating tension between these characters. So then you want to show character development. So a really good example of like, I feel like textbook, like zero to hero storytelling is like My Hero Academia. In that first few chapters or whatever, it really establishes like who Deku is, like who he's going to be, who he's trying to be. It establishes like a bunch of his obstacles. It establishes a bunch of the villains, the rivals, like all of that stuff is kind of established in those first few episodes. So I think like showing the character development here, you can really add in aspects of like where you want the story to go. Is it going to be like two friends, like a Naruto Sasuke loving relationship where they're really in love with each other sort of situation? Or is it going to be something dark where like they're going down a dark path? Like, and just keep in mind, what you're trying to do as you make each episode. And then of course, in each episode on some sort of hook or a cliffhanger. So this could be like a little bit of information. This could be the cutoff of information. This could be, an actual like stopping in the middle of a fight, like whatever you need to do to really make that story pop off. All right, so let's look at point number 3. So planning the actual action scenes like a story. Hello, Wild. So this is what I think's fights should have. It should be clear to the audience what the motivation is for both parties. Like, why are they fighting each other? I often find that sometimes like fights are so out of context that it makes it like, what are we doing here? Like, why is this happening? Why are these two characters, going at each other? Like, it makes no sense. So because I don't have context, like, it probably makes sense to you because you've been living in that world, but sometimes I need to be spoon fed. So I need clarity. Remember, clarity. Next, strategy. How does the character approach it? So this is something that I think people also do not consider, is your character may not be in their overpowered state or whatever that you have imagined them in, or you're thinking of them in the future. You need to explain like what they plan to do. In most action webtoons, action stories, action anime, there will be some sort of explanation of how the character is going to fight against the other character, especially because they're supposed to be in the weaker position, because otherwise, they're just overpowered. So I think a really interesting example of this would be if you've ever seen Sherlock Holmes, the one with Robert Downey Jr., during one of his fights, he literally, before the fight happens, tells us everything that he's going to do. He's like, I'm going to hit him in the throat, I'm going to go for his nose, I'm going to poke his eyes, and then I'm going to like choke him down onto the ground. Like, he explains all of that. So we as an audience understand his strategy, but then when we see it happen, we're like, oh, dang, that was super cool. So my point is like, even if it's something really simple, explaining like what the character is going to do, it's super beneficial to the audience, like 100% beneficial for you to make sure that we as the audience understand like what the character's strategy is going to be to win. And then that adds a lot of tension, because if the plan doesn't go how they think it's going to go, now we've got to figure something out. Emotion. So what's the emotional context behind this? Like, is the character afraid? Are they desperate? Are they enraged? Are they overconfident? Like, what's happening here? I think this is another thing that's missing sometimes from action sequences across this genre in general, is like, there'll just be a cool fight, but like everybody's kind of like flat. And so from a reader standpoint, yes, a flat character can be really cool and really terrifying, but if all of the characters are flat, then it just doesn't read right. Like, what the heck? So I think it's super duper important to make sure that we understand that we have to add some emotional context to the scene. So yes, you've got to give your character a strategy, and you've got to understand, we as the audience have to understand their mental state. Are they, really positive during a fight, or are they actually going to, push their limits and do the best that they can to overcome that emotional barrier? Or is the emotional barrier going to add to the fight? There's so many aspects of this, but that's something definitely to consider. And then you want to consider the progression. So we've been talking about like setting them up, helping them to become like better characters or whatever, improve their, superpowers, whatever they're doing. So you can think of like power-ups, comebacks, and then twists. So maybe they did end up learning the skill. I think of a really good example of this, that like a series that does training arcs all the time is like Dragon Ball Z and Bleach. Like, there is going to be a training arc in there for them to learn their new power no matter what. And so and especially in Bleach, we never really know whether or not Ichigo learns the skill until the fight, which is very exciting, but also, at a certain point it becomes predictable, because it's like, bro, we know you learned it. Why did you just show us? Ash, hello. So glad that you could be here on stream for the first time. And hello, Little Moon. You said Boxer is so flat I had to stop reading it. I liked the Boxer. I did stop reading it as well. I can't remember why I stopped reading it. I don't know if it was because the character was flat, because I do think in the Boxer a lot of the other characters do have enough pizzazz to like pull the story forward, and he almost seemed like a background character in his own story, which was kind of interesting from a writing perspective. But also, I totally get what you're saying. Are you also said we got to punch them abs? Yes 100%, 1000%. Like, if we're not punching abs, what are we doing? Okay, so here's a little bit of a way I think that we could think of setting up like this action scenes. So you have like the setup, so whatever they're doing in their day to day, then you have like the crash. So this is like the instant where kind of like the fight starts. And then you have like this turning point where either the character looks like they're going to win or they're going to lose. And then we have the outcome, one or the other. So we can add tension here. These are just some things to keep in the back of your mind. I think overusing them will get like tiring for readers, but you can add countdown clocks. So like, let's say that there's a bomb about to go off. A clock really, really helps. You can add injuries or weaknesses. So maybe like, the character could be severely hurt and they need medical attention. Like maybe they've been shot or something like that, or they've been stabbed. Like that is a significant and easy weakness that you do not have to explain. Or maybe it could be some sort of like superpower or supernatural element that weakens them. Like maybe they're weakened by like blood crystals or, something random like that, or kryptonite. Like all of that plays an effect in the fight. Like, and that can be really dramatic for readers because it's like, what the heck is going on? So then a really, really important thing that I feel like more people should take advantage of is having limited resources. And this is something that I feel like can go a number of ways, especially when you're doing superpowers. Because if there's no gauge on a superpower, it's hard to be like, oh, they're losing their power or whatever, when we as the reader do not know like how the power is being used, in the sense of like if you fill up your car with gas, you don't know it's running out of gas until it lets you know. And that's kind of how it comes up sometimes in like comics. It'll be like all of a sudden the character's like, I'm so weak, I can't do this. And it's like, bro, you stopped an asteroid like 20 chapters ago. What do you mean you're weak? What do you mean you don't have enough power to do this next thing? But I do think that it adds a lot of tension when it's done correctly. Like a character being down to their last bullet. So it's like, if they don't make the shot or they don't make hit whatever they're trying to do, then they're SOL. So it's one of those situations where I think limited resources really, really help a story add significant tension if it's thought through. Like if a character just can't use their powers anymore for no reason, it kind of pisses me off. So just be aware of that. Andy said, man, I love stoic characters. Give me my plain boys. Okay, I like stoic characters. It just depends. Like sometimes I feel like a stoic character, they stay around too long. I'm like, your story should have been ended. Winter is like, Bleach was mentioned. Yes, Bleach is super fire. Like I am obsessed with that. It's in the new episodes that are coming out, and that character that like has the tapestry powers. I think she's so cool. Like I was just like, hands down, favorite character, best character in Bleach, period. Although my favorite character in Bleach is Orihime, so I mean, I guess that says a lot about me. What if said, I heard many people like The Boxer, but I don't know, I never read it. You should give it a try. Maybe you'll like it. Prince Boring. Hi, Prince Boring. I'm late. I didn't realize you were streaming. Hello. Yes. I am trying to stream more, so I had time here to do a little bit of a stream. Aryu said, he has truly no personality, has no ambition or goals. It's novel for a few chapters, but then it gets old. See, that's my thing. Maybe that's what it was. Like, maybe because I remember when I first started the series, I really, really enjoyed The Boxer, like a lot. And then I was just like, oh, well, okay, ... I went for epic in the contest, so this will be helpful. Yeah. Hopefully all of these things will be super helpful to you and can add some clarity to like polish off some of the scenes that maybe you were like a little wobbly about. Aryu likes Orihime too. I feel that. Winter said, not Orihime being your favorite side eye. Okay, listen. Let me cook for a second. I do like Orihime aesthetically, but I like Orihime specifically for her powers. I thought her powers were so cool. Like, I really, really thought like they were cooking when they made her. And then the fact that they don't ever use her right just drives me crazy, because I'm just like, listen, Orihime can take all of you down. Like, why are we not putting Orihime out in front? Like, if I was on the team with somebody who was like an Omega level, Alpha level, like Supreme Being level, I literally would be like, we need to train her. Like, why am I training? Train her. That would be me on the team. Like, I'd be like, I guess then the show would be that time I got reincarnated and got put it on a SSSSS class fighters team. Like, that literally would be me. Oh my good grief. Young PJ said the boxer goes deeper than the fighting. Trust me. I do trust you. Sorry, I thought I heard knocking at my door. I was like, wait, what? So I was like, I had to get up and look real quick. But listen, I do trust you. It's just one of those situations where no, nothing happened. I thought I heard something and I was like, wait, what? So I had to get up to investigate. I was like, I'm not expecting anything. Am I hearing noises? It's one of those moments, you know, when you're in the house and you're like, did something just happen? Did something just run across my path? Like, I was so very afraid for a second. Like, very afraid. Okay. So getting back to this, let's move on to point number 4. So script for panels, not pages. So I think there is a huge issue when you're converting from a novel to a webtoon, or when you're taking the advice from a novel to a webtoon or to a script or anything like that. Like, you add so much additional work onto yourself that you end up not being able to use because you're focusing more on writing a story than you are on visually telling a story. So just keep in mind, you're not writing a novel. You're writing scenes for scrolling art. Scrolling art. The power of the scroll and the panel. And this is something I have to remind myself all of the time. I'm like, I am not writing a novel. Do not add extra dialogue. And as somebody who loves flower rewriting, who loves like really pretty sentences, it's something that's super important to remember. Do not fall into this trap where you just have text pages. Okay, please don't. So each panel should do one of these things. They should show an action, they should show a reaction, they should deliver a line of dialogue, they should convey emotion or tension. That's it. That is it. Okay, here is a little bit of a pro tip from some of my research. Limit the word count to under 20 to 30 words per panel. I think this is ideal. I think this hits the like soft spot, okay? Or the good spot, whatever you want to call it. Let the art do the heavy lifting. So let those glances, let those like hands being clenched, like let the onomatopoeia, let all of that stuff do the work, okay? Okay, can we do that? Okay. Now, if you're already in the point of no return, then I mean, it is what it is. Like, we've got to handle what we've got to handle. So, oh wait, what are you guys talking about? The intern draws near. Listen, me and the intern are going to be roommates soon. Like, y'all just wait. I think the power couple of Webtoon makes fantastic action series, so I always recommend their stuff. What power couple? Is that a series? The power couple? Is that the name of the series? Jackson Perry said, laughing my butt off. It's the intern. It's always the intern. I promise. That intern is always out to get me. All right, let's hit point number 5. Dialogue that just hits. So when you are using the dialogue, it's super important to make sure to use it effectively in an action series. So you want to keep it as tight as possible. So limit the flowery sentences, limit the, expository information. So don't dump exposition in the middle of a fight. Like, they should not be fighting and all of a sudden you go into like a thesis paper on like how their powers work. Like, they are using the electromagnetic airbending super omega level technique that no one else knows and was passed down through their families for 16 generations. Do not do that. Do not do that, okay? Like, A little bit of exposition, maybe if there is a new technique being introduced, but not too much, just enough so that we understand. Like, this exposition should have happened in the training arc so that we knew what was going on, so that when the fight was happening, there was no need to really explain this. Maybe a brief callback, but that's about it. So then use punchy one-liners. So this is before or after blows to heighten the drama. So if two characters are fighting, like, they're not going to per se be, well, I guess they could. It depends on the situation, but generally I feel like it's better to trash talk before and after the action sequence. So maybe they pause for a minute in the fight, then you have a little bit of, trash talk, and then they get back to it, and then you let the panels just do the work. So then show their personality as they're fighting. So some people, maybe they fight really cute, like that. I mean, hey, if you like it, I love it. That could totally be a thing. Or maybe they're super energetic, so they're like jumping all over the place, like all of their movements are over exaggerated, and maybe they're like very precise, like they're like very strategic with their aim. All of that stuff is things that I think really help the fight scene to not just be two people punching each other. Like, push those emotional reactions, push those characters. Like, everyone would not fight the same in your world. Like, they should not. Like, it should be unique, it should be fun, it should be different. Just saying. Even mentors that like teach their students, I think they should have different fight styles, and I think that would just help the story overall be really impactful. All right, point number 6, episode structure. This is where I feel like it's hard to really say this, but I think a decent length is leaning towards 60 panels. I put 40 to 60, but I really feel like it's more on the higher side, and that's because I feel like you need extra panels in the fight scene to be able to really express the fight well. So a solid action episode flow would be like a quick recap of whatever was set up or whatever happened before. Then you're going to have the conflict, and then the fight's going to start. Then you're going to have an unexpected complication, so something why the main character is not going to win. And then if you're not concluding the fight, then it's going to end on a cliffhanger, or it's going to have something really emotional happen. So make people want to scroll to that next episode. Make them want to work for that payoff. And that will be a really good way of just setting up a fight in the most simple way possible. So if the character looks like they're winning and all of a sudden maybe somebody's like coming up behind them about to take their head off, like, don't start that scene. Wait for it to happen next. Like, keep thinking about how to keep the reader going to the next episode. Okay, so those are my tips for writing an action webtoon. I know it was a lot, but I feel like we covered a good bit of information to set up a nice foundation. So depending on where you are, you can go back to one of these points and really help to build on whatever you need and just kind of like, make something epic from there. Also, I just want to highlight this, like, the creator of Ordeal is insane. Like, some of the artwork for his series just blows my mind. Like, I'm like, this is a webtoon original. Like, this is how like people are making action series. Like, what is this craziness? Like, look at this. Like, I just want to say, like, it encompasses a lot of what I talked about just from this one illustration. Like, look at the one character and the way he's like positioned with his arms, both arms wide out. Like, his fighting style, you can tell, is so different from the other characters. Look at the girl in the middle, like, who's using the sword. She's got a different fighting style. And then you've got the main guy down there. He's got a different fighting style. Like, you see just so much like uniqueness from his characters. So much thought put into the way they're going to fight and the way they're going to be. Like, maybe it's like martial arts, maybe it's a grappler, maybe it's a swordsman. Like, all of that makes such a big difference in the overall like creation of your story. And it adds so much uniqueness to your story that I feel like it should not be underestimated. Do not underestimate this. I promise. It's so cool though. Like, even the background is just perfection. Like, I'm just staring at this illustration and I just cannot get over how good it is. All right, so my question to the community: what are your tips on creating an action webtoon? So, like, What are your tips on character design, superpowers? What are your tips on, the flow of how a fight goes? Like, how do you choreograph it? Like I want to hear all of that. Like, what makes an action series really impactful to you? And if you have suggestions on action series that you think people could learn from and benefit from, then please let me know. Like, I would love to hear some action series that have like amazing sequences and beautiful choreography, cool choreography, like whatever you want to think. Oh yeah, I totally agree, Mystery. Brent is the GOAT, like 1,000%. Mystery, why do you feel guilty? What happened? What if said it's the artist of Viral Hit and the maker of Unholy Blood? They make Kill Peter right now. Oh, you know what? I remember the Unholy Blood creator mentioning something about working on a new series. I'll have to look that up. Okay, so the name of the series is Kill Peter. Okay, I'll give it a try. I'll give it a try because you suggested it. And he said, I've joked to my friend that my writing style is on par with a Disney made for TV movie quality. Good for corny comedy, bad when I try to write more important moments. Andy, I've read your stuff. It's good. Oh, we got a suggestion here. I love Teenage Mercenary for action sequences. I'm going to have to look it up. I'm going to have to look it up. If you like Teenage Mercenary, look up Alexid and Omniscient Reader. Like, both of those have really cool action sequences too. Prince Born said, bro, how can I draw like this? Listen, Brent needs to take a class. Like, is he looking for an apprenticeship? Because I am down. Thor said, I just need him to do a full process video on step-by-step with all of his secrets. Yes. I would watch that on repeat all day, every day. Jackson Perry said, I'm not sure what to do with my comic because it starts as a supernatural thriller horror and turns into an action. There's only one major fight scene in my third episode. Which genre should I pick? I'd have to read it to really be able to give you any sort of advice, but I would say if it takes it 3 episodes to really get to the action, maybe include something actiony in the beginning if you want to enter in action, or like, it really depends on the premise because I don't know. I feel like if we're talking about the contest, it would be really good to make sure if you're entering in action or whatever that there is some action in the first episode. Prince Boring said, this one image is telling me to get good. Yes. 1000%. Sean said, if you want to get better at fight scenes, get into more fights. Just antagonize everyone that you can. You'll learn a lot quickly. I don't know if you'll learn a lot. You might get knocked out a lot. Like, what will you be learning, Sean? Please elaborate. Because unless you're a fighter, I feel like there's no hope. Like, you ain't gonna learn nothing except how to keep your mouth shut. Jackson Perry said, okay, would that be under gripping for the contest? Okay, so here's my thing about the horror genre. Like, I feel like I really would have to read the first episode. Like, I feel like a lot of people are wavering between like epic and thrilling and all of that stuff. But I feel like if it's not suspenseful, it doesn't fit thrilling. So maybe your story would be more fantasy. Like, it would be like in the same wheelhouse as like Hooky, where Hooky is like epic because it's epic in concept. So I would say maybe you could do like fantasy first, then action. So maybe you could go like fantasy action. Like, that might make more sense. Andy said, I love the fighting in Windbreaker, the manga/anime. If you watch the anime, you can clearly see the different fighting styles. I've never read Windbreaker. I've heard it's really good. I'm going to add it to my list. Anna, hello. I'm glad you're able to make it to a stream. Fat Tacky Cat said, real fights are nothing like anime fights. It ends rather quickly. It generally does. I feel like real fights are a little scary also because it's like people just like start tussling for like 2 seconds and then like it's done and you're just like in shock because like your emotions haven't even like reined themselves back in. So you're just sitting there like, what do I do? why am I here? Why am I a part of this? Like, don't hurt me. And then it's over and you're just still in the, what do I do? Why am I here? Should I help? Should I not help? Should I jump in? Like, yeah. Jess said, one punch and I'm out. Yeah, exactly. Like, what is this advice, Sean? Sean, how dare you offer this advice? Like, no one get into these fights. Let's let Sean get into the fights for us and he can report back. It's true, Fat Tacky Cats. Also, people lose their pants way more than you'd expect. Who's losing their pants during a fight? I've seen people lose their shirts. I've seen people lose hair. I've never seen anyone lose their pants. What type of fight is this? Oh my good grief. Is this like a K-drama fight? Like, is that what's happening? Was it like, oh no, I ripped off his shirt, he has abs? Like, is this the fight? Is that what you're setting up, Sean? Like, this is deranged type behavior. Winter said, I remember everyone in school flocking like seagulls to see two kids fight. It was kind of scary, to be honest, like how like interested everyone was in seeing violence. It was like, what is happening? Why are we so barbaric? What is this? Sean said, I tell you, the pants just slide off. It's absurd. Is it? I've never witnessed a fight where pants just fall off. Thor said, I feel like that gives your opponent time to attack while you take your pants off. They're not taking their pants off. Like, they're just like magically coming off. Like, apparently everyone in these fights have on like stripper pants. Like, it's insanity. Okay, guys, I am going to go ahead and start wrapping up. I want to do my creator shout out today. So pause the screen, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. I'm going to link the webtoon in the description, but please check out this creator series. It's called Crowned in Glass. It has a really interesting premise. So I'm super excited to see how the story is developed and where it decides to go. Also, look at that art style. It's so clean. It's really good. So definitely check it out. Support the creator, give them all of the love, like give them all of the support, do what you can to help them out. All right, and a quick thank you to our patrons. I really appreciate you guys. Y'all do so much for me. Y'all do so much for me that I just cannot express my gratitude. Like, it's kind of insane the amount of support that I'm receiving on Patreon, you know, whether it's from the free tier or people who are paying. I just really appreciate all of the support. So thank you. If you would like some extra content that I'm not posting on any socials, then feel free to check out on my Patreon and see some of the behind the scene process. All right, with that, I will catch you all in the next video.